Yo, what's up, everybody? Chris Eaton here, Fatman Live, Snakes to Fatman, Fatman Nation. You guys know all the places to find me. Very excited, second show of the year. So we have Amy Benzi on from Basins tonight. So Amy just got back from Brazil, so we're gonna talk about that for a little while. But first thing we want to do is you got to thank the people that pay the bills, okay? And listen, if you're in Vegas, Brian Bode's the guy to go to for ball pythons. If you want a quality ball python, Brian Bode's the guy to go to. Okay, go check him out on Instagram. Go follow him. He's a great guy. He's in New York like every other week, so I'm looking forward to dinner again with Brian. Then Conduit Constrictors. All right, you already know these guys. They're fucking giant players already. They spent $1 million to get into the ball python business, and I believe they bought a farm just to run the ball python business out of the 7,000 square foot farmhouse or whatever. But they're right down in Pennsylvania. So if you need a quality ball python and you're in Pennsylvania, go to Steve Conduit. He only does investment quality stuff. If you want $300 animals, Steve is probably not the guy to go to. Okay. Great Family Snakes. Okay. They're big into Desert Ghost pieds, Desert Ghost axanthic pieds. Go check out their morph market. They're always having a bunch of stuff going on. I believe they're going to be at Bob's show in February, so we'll get a chance to see them there. And they're just good people. Okay, so they do a lot of double recessives. They're killing it right now as far as the axanthic thing goes. So go check them out. Great Family Snakes. I'll tell you who's definitely going to be in Georgia next month. Small Town Exotics. My boy Shane. I'm not positive. I know I said this last week, but now I'm not positive that everybody that's won 15 minutes will be under one roof because I believe Antoine may have a prior commitment. So he may not be there, but Leviathan's going to be there. Shane's going to be there. Large Marge is going to be there. Reagan Renee is going to be there. Kevin Paulus is going to be there. Palulus, however the fuck you pronounce his last name. It's a difficult name to pronounce, but he will be there too. And if anybody wants to meet Shauna Corner is probably going to be there too. So we're looking forward to the Georgia show next month. It's the Southeast Reptile Expo. This is my guy here. All right, Will from Visionary Exotics. Will knocked it out of the park in his 15 minutes debate. And I got to show a little bit of personality there. I think it opened up the doors for a couple of things. But if you need a quality ball python and you're in Texas, Will's the guy to go to. Will Sanford, Visionary Exotics. You will not be disappointed. If you guys want to advertise here, we have one space available for 2025. So I like to keep it at 6, and that's where we'll actually stop it. So if you would like to advertise with the old Fatman Nation on Fatman Live, drop me a DM and let's talk. I'll give you a good deal on advertising on the show. Okay. So, all right, we got a lot of things going on tonight. I'm excited to talk to Amy, but we got to give everybody your validations because I know that that's the only reason you're here. Hear your name announced in the room. I get it. Okay, who's here? Irresistibles, Nikki. Thank you so much for popping in. I appreciate you. Shauna Corner's double dipping. Jeremy Bode, thank you for stopping by, brother. I hope the house repair is going good. Morph Avenue, Mike Duval. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you, Mike. Let's see, Python Prince, Patreon member. Gotta love him. Blake, go check out Python Prince and follow him on Instagram. HDS Serpents, also Patreon members. Go follow them. They're two awesome people. They're going to be contestants on 15 Minutes of Lane this year. So it's going to be pretty exciting. Snake Treasures, I believe that's Tara. Tara is the one who introduced me to Amy, although I knew Amy from seeing her on another video about a year ago because I recognized the room right away. But anyway, thank you, Tara, for coming. 319 Reptiles. Chris killed it this year. Former 15 Minutes of Lane contestant. Love him. Amy is double dipping. Okay. What's up, Amy? So let's see. Do we got anybody else? We're going really slow here. Paul Clark, right? Grim Reaper Reptiles. What's going on? Gerald, hope the meeting went well. VIP Morphs. Nice to see you here, Gerald, and I'll be talking to you this week. Oh, this is my guy. This is my guy. All right. He's definitely a ride or die. He's in every show that I'm in. Creative Corallus, thank you for stopping by. Yeah, you could watch the Vikings Lions game. It's cool. Erica, Plain Snakes. That's a cool name. Thank you for stopping by. And I think that's all we have in the room so far. What do we got? 20 people here. All right, let's get that up to like 50. Okay. And hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, smash all the buttons. Patreon, if you guys want exclusive access to behind the scenes stuff that happens here at the Fatman Nation and a bunch of video series that you won't get anywhere else. They're all exclusive to Patreon. Stop by the patreon.com/the Nation. We're recording Storytellers season 2 right now. And I'm just going to drop a headline like Mike Stefani and Ken Masick. I interviewed both of them about 3 nights ago. And I didn't know that they knew each other. I mean, they're some of my, best friends in the hobby. Yet I had no idea that they knew each other for like 35 years, right? So Ken had the idea of doing a double Storytellers with him and Mike. And man, I was just going to let them go, put them together, let them talk and tell stories, and they did not disappoint. Normally a Storytellers interview goes about 40 minutes. I did the interview with them for almost 5.5 hours. So we got a ton of stories from Lee Watson's Reptile Swap. I mean, just back into the 90s from when these guys were doing it. Ton of cool stories. We're probably going to make that a 2-parter, and that's probably what we're going to kick Storyteller season 2 off with this year. So want to listen to that? There's no other way to listen to it other than joining the Patreon. Also, there's going to be a open Zoom call for reptile keepers on January 12th. Then there's going to be a celebrity Zoom call with Bob Vu. That's going to be on January 26th. Now, the celebrity call is only for Patreon members on a pay tier, but the open Zoom call on the 12th is open to all Patreon people, including the free people. So I look forward to seeing you guys with that. And then we're going to have January 15th, Snakes and the Fat Man. It's going to be Nice Balls, who I've known for 20 years and haven't had him on the show yet. So I'm having him on the show for the first time. And the 15 Minutes of Lame guest will be Flawless Xotics creation. So, all right. I think that's all the stuff I got to get out of the way here. Look, I have a super hot woman here. And like she's like an Amazon. She goes into the jungle. Okay. She goes into Brazil and she looks for wild emeralds. So you got to have her on. And I saw her years ago on another video, and I recognized her by the room that she was in. So I just figured like I knew this woman already. So I asked her to come on. She said yes, and pow, here she is. Amy Benzi. Fuck it, what's going on, Amy?
How's it going? Thanks for all that great introduction.
This is literally the first time that a snake is being shown on this show.
Okay? Really? You got to be kidding.
Yeah, no, you're lucky you're hot. Otherwise, it would have. If you had been ugly, I would have asked you to put it away. All right.
Well, you
So
already told me that if I wasn't hot, I wouldn't even be sitting here right now. So
that's right. That's right. That's yeah. Listen, we have a level of standards that we keep up with here on Sneaks and Batman. Okay. I want to talk about Brazil a little bit, and but I want to know how you got into this whole thing initially, because I'd like to know how you got into it and how that led to going to Brazil and going into the jungle and looking for them. So, what
that
was
is a
the
very
first thing that
interesting.
got you into it? Yeah, what was
That's
the
a
first
very
thing that got
interesting
you into it?
story. Love, can you put that like more like right behind the camera right here? Well, we got our first emerald in June of 2020. And I, of course, was only learning what I could find on the emerald tree boa groups. And so I wanted to go see their natural environment. But a lot of people know the way I really got into these animals. The story even before that story is that I had an ayahuasca journey in Tucson, and I had never been to the jungle. I didn't even know these animals existed, these green tree snakes. But during my ayahuasca journey, if you've ever had one, then you know that it's all like realer than real. And I felt and heard, and I was in the jungle. And that just kept going for a long time after I got back, and I just kept having this urge to go to the jungle. And there's a lot more to that journey. But also during that journey, I had an experience.
Wait. Did you really think we're just gonna float past this whole ayahuasca thing? That's the Indian hippie sweatshop in the tent bullshit, right? Like on Yellowstone.
What you're saying is more peyote,
Okay.
but the ayahuasca is actually from South America, and that's another thing. It's from the Peruvian jungle, which was my first Amazon experience that I went to after I had this journey in Tucson. But yes, what you're saying, it is, yes, like that.
It's similar to that.
If you don't know about it, then that would be the typical thought of it, and that it's not
Yes.
wrong.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Educate me. Let me know why you did it, how it happened, and what your thoughts were afterwards. So, who got you to do this?
It's a family tradition.
Okay. Okay. All
So
right.
my family and I do these journeys. We belong to multiple different, plant medicine organizations, peyote, ayahuasca, and during these journeys, we take them very seriously as a type of meditation. We fast, we set intentions, we spend a lot of time meditating, and you cleanse. Everybody who does should cleanse themselves in every way. What you see, what you hear, what you eat, what you speak, everything that is just about a month worth of preparation.
Okay.
And then,
and where does this happen? Does it happen just you? Like, is
no,
it just you in a
it's a
room?
big sweat room, like you said. Well, it depends. If you're with peyote, if you sit with peyote, then you're isolated. That's a solo type of medicine. But the ayahuasca is a more social medicine. And in the ayahuasca journeys, you are in what a person could think of like a sweat lodge. It's not sweating, but you are in an open space with many different people.
Okay. Like how many? Like, is it like 50 or is it like 5?
5 to 30. And 30 is a lot.
30. Okay. Okay.
30 is a lot. 30 is
like
not good.
in a sauna with somebody, right?
If you're in a group of 30, you're not in the right group. If you're in a group of 30, go find a group of 10, 15 at the most. But they do have groups of 30.
Okay. But you don't do the groups of 30. You do the smaller groups.
Yes,
Okay. And
preferably.
what happens in there? Like I literally know nothing about this. So tell me everything that happens during this journey.
Okay. Like I said, the preparation is a huge part of it. Here, I'll take that one too. And the cleansing and fasting and setting your intentions. When you go into the environment, you usually get there the morning of the start of the ceremony, which usually starts maybe in the evening, anywhere between 8 p.m. and midnight. And the time that you get there in the morning until the evening, you can spend socializing. A lot of people spend that time praying, meditating, maybe, playing some soft instruments and just looking through journals or writing in journals, talking to other people about their expectations and just learning. So it's just a day of that. And then in the evening, when it's time to start the ceremony, the shaman there's usually multiple shamans, one shaman who distributes the medicine, which is a mixture of a leaf and a root from different trees in Peru. And I know one tree is ayahuasca, and I can never remember the name of the second one that the root comes from. And if I say anything wrong, please correct me. If anybody out there knows more than I do.
I literally have no idea. So
Well, we know you don't. You've already said that.
I'm just loving the fact that you're just handling emerald tree boas that everybody thinks are so aggressive and they're gonna bite you. I love that your husband's just handing you them, right off the bat. So all right, keep going about the ayahuasca thing.
And when the ceremony starts, the shamans will start by playing some soft instruments like crystal bowls, rattles, different types of soft flutes. What else, love? What other instruments?
Just rasp and harp.
Yeah, harps, different little instruments.
Relaxation music.
Yeah, relaxation, like really total relaxation music. And there's usually a group of 3 to 5 shamans. No matter how big the group is that's there to partake in the medicine, there are still 3 to 5 shamans chanting and, spending time with everybody. People are there to work through things. Those types of situations are meant for people to heal and grow and things like that. So the shamans are there to walk people through those things. Sometimes it's hard. And the medicine starts, the shaman calls all of the first-time people who've never been there before. They go first, and they go up to the altar. The altar, people bring things to put around the altar. Like a lot of people bring crystals and different little things that can be blessed during the ceremony and just like absorb the love and, like you said, the hippie stuff. Just absorb that energy. So are you okay, love? Okay, I just make sure he's always, he's watching the ball game too. Someone else on here is watching it too. He just had his head down in his hands and I'm thinking, oh gosh, here I go talking about stuff again.
Basically opening the neurons in the brain, so different parts of your brain can communicate that don't normally communicate, so you can really figure your life out a little bit better.
So I don't know if you guys could hear Larry, but he's talking about how the medicine helps your neurons open and connect so that you can gain greater perspectives. And that's what the medicine is known for. So
and the next day, what happens? Is there like a hangover? Is there
oh God, I'm so glad I get to skip to the next day. Thank you.
Oh, why? Is there a bunch of wild sex in between?
No, there's not sex, but there is purging of all kinds. And after you take, the first people go up and get the medicine, and then after you take the medicine, you wait about 40 minutes. And after those 40 minutes, then you can go back and get as much as you want to. but you have to talk to the shaman, and he asks you questions and asks you how your journey is going so far in different things to gauge, how much medicine to mix for you, and if you even if you can walk and get up there and get a second one, you can have another one. Because once the medicine takes a hold of you, and it's really cool because the shamans are chanting and playing the music still. And if a lot of people out there, I know our age group, a lot of people did different psychedelics for party reasons in our youth. I know I did, which was not anywhere near the experience that you have when you take it as a meditative, perspective gaining, learning medicine. So it's completely different. But one thing that was familiar, it was like, it's kind of like, those pictures that you see of 3D art and you have to stare at it for a long time and then it pops out and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
it's like that with sound. And when the shamans are chanting and playing the music and going around making those sounds, your brain just like catches them. And you do see like Fantasia type stuff. And then once you can get deep into a meditation, you can start having different experiences. And my experience in this particular journey in 2020, Yeah, that was 2020, the end of 2020, because it was cold. And that particular experience, I had gone for a completely very, as a matter of fact, I called the family to all come with me because I needed some healing with some things, you know how it is with different things. It's always about family, So I needed healing, and I went for that, and I had prepared and meditated. Well, during my experience, I had, besides my jungle part of it, such a long story, I won't tell my exact journey, but I did have serpents like slithering in and out of my essence. And I just laid there feeling so happy and loved and joyous. And it was a good month after we got back, I told Larry, I think I really want a pet snake. And I wanted 2 of them. And I wanted, I guess this is a tangent. So I'll get back to the next day. The next day, no, you have no hangover. You have pure euphoria. You feel on top of the world. It's completely amazing. You didn't sleep all night and you purged all night, but you laughed and cried and you just feel absolutely amazing. And you want to hug everybody and just feel all the love in the world. So when I first decided that I wanted to get these snakes, I wanted 2 false water cobras.
Okay. You would never own snakes before this.
I had snakes in my youth. We would catch snakes. I was the only girl in our apartment complex. And for some reason, I just liked snakes. We lived in Tucson, and I could catch snakes in the desert and handle them and hold them. And it made me cool. So I did have an experience with snakes when I was younger. And I did let some live in my house, but I didn't keep them caged up. I would just put like heating pads with pans of water and let them stay in my plants until they disappeared. So, sorry. That was actually my hair. He pulled my hair when he was slithering on it. So I did have snakes before, but not for almost 30 years.
Right. Okay.
So.
And what made you not do the false water cobras and do the emeralds?
The reason I wanted the false water cobras was because everything I watched online showed them being like super social and friendly, and people would put a plate of food out and the snake would come out and eat off of it, and they were watching TV with it. And that was before I was like watching anything like that on Facebook. I mean, of course I see stuff like that all the time now, but at that time I didn't have any snake stuff on my feed. So it was just what I Googled, and the false water cobra looked the nicest. And then Larry said, okay, I'm getting in on this. And if we're going to get snakes, we're going to find something that I'm attracted to too. And so he is the one who found these. And then we weren't able to get one. It was so hard. We'd sent emails and messages and tried so hard. And so I decided I was just going to get 2 northerns because these were so hard to get, not to mention the cost, which was they're so worth every penny. They're so amazing. But then Larry said, no, we're going to get these. So that's how we actually ended up with this exact type of snake, Larry said. So I wanted social snakes. That's what I was after. And so when I got these, I was not privy on the taboo in the emerald groups of you can't hold these or make them pets. They're look only. I didn't know any of that stuff at that time. I just wanted to do this with them.
Right. And obviously you've been working with these since they were babies, right?
Some of them. The first one that I had here, Xotics, he's our most calm snake. He will get on anybody's neck and wrap up and go to sleep and wag his tail when it's time to get off. He does not like to get off people. And he was 3 years old when we got him from Steve Volk. He was a Steve Volk holdback from his black line, and he had never been touched. So, no, and I'm telling you, so you want to move on to my jungle stuff now?
Yeah, no. We definitely can, but I'm still.
This is a good time because I'm going to talk about that right now, about something about it.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, when I go to the jungle, you mentioned Brazil. Yes, I have been to Brazil 4 times, but my main trip that I do all the time is Suriname. And Suriname, it is legal, not the Batesii, but the Caninus. There are 2 types of emerald tree boas for folks who don't know. And the Caninus can still legally be exported from Suriname and Guyana. So my main trips are to Suriname because you can always find emeralds in Suriname. All of my trips to Brazil, nothing. Peru, my very first trip to Peru, I found a Batesii, one of these guys. And then I've been to Colombia, Brazil, nothing but Suriname every single solitary time. And if a lot of you have seen my social media stuff, by the handfuls. I'm holding wild northern tree boas, like just this size and everything. And I'm kissing them in their face. I am putting them around other people's necks. I spend about 20 minutes just with a little bit of trust time with them. And before you know it, they're exactly like this right here. So no, working with these animals all the time is not what makes them like this. It's just, they're very intelligent. They're like the German shepherds because I've held a lot of different kinds of wild snakes. And the only other wild snake with this level of what seems like intelligence to me, like the way they look around in a curious way, the way they check to see if they're in danger, and if they're not, their bodies relax, they're not tense, they're not trying to get away. They're just very different than...
When you're tense.
Yes, they know when I'm tense, or when a handler is tense, they definitely mirror that tension. But wild ones and these, and I probably shouldn't even say it, but it's all over my social media. I use wild northerns straight out of the trees, and I put them on children's necks by 2 and 3 at a time because their body language is so easy to read. So far, I've never had any incidents of any kind, but there are times I'd had to take the animal away because I can see tension starting to rise in the animal. They're very readable.
Don't you think that's a little bit, because if they bite you, it's going to hurt, right? So don't you think it's a little risky putting them on the kids?
Yes, but like I said, today I had the little girl over holding all these snakes. She was even holding my one that's not an ambassador because she does bite.
Right. No, I saw that.
Did.
Yeah.
But I can read her body language. If she's going to bite hard, there's going to be some things happening in this body, and none of that was going on. But yes, it's risky. But like I said, if my main thing when other people are holding the emeralds is that I keep their bodies like this. I don't let the emerald wrap around anybody's arm. I'm constantly taking the emerald by like the belly area and pulling the tail down because that relaxes them. That's their mating gestures with each other. And I just do those things. And it keeps the animal calm. The animal's not going to bite when its whole body is like this right here would be dangerous. I would never let this happen with one of the wild animals.
Right.
And I'm just constantly keeping the tail straight, because when that happens, they are not going to bite with their full bodies relaxed. And if they do, it would be exactly like what you saw today. Mm-hmm. And I have just experienced, not that I've experienced everything and not that accidents can't happen. But I definitely feel confident that I'm reading these animals well enough that I feel okay with what I'm doing. I feel a hell of a lot more dangerous walking down my stairs in socks for anybody. Okay. I don't even let my guests walk down my stairs in socks, but they can hold all my snakes. So I guess we all just take different types of risks.
Have you bred them yet or no?
Yes. That is actually how I met Tara and a lot of the people here. Oh, okay.
Are you talking about that?
You can get him out first. And Erica, Plain Snakes and Snake Treasures were two of the main people, and Megan is with me a lot, well, all the time now too. But in the very beginning, I did have a pregnant female, my Isis. It's this one's sister, Xotics' sister that we got from Steve Volk. And she got pregnant. She was pregnant for 191 days, which the longest one had ever been pregnant with a live birth was 183 days. And that's as far as everybody knows. That has any type of knowledge of records. Here you go, love. So we know now what we did wrong, what I did wrong. The only thing Larry ever does wrong is let me do whatever I want without any conflict. But I let the pregnant snake, my snakes roam free in this room. And I had the cooler on lightly because it does stay around 76 to 78 down here. And I had the cooler on lightly, and she wanted to lay in that cool air, and I let her. So it kind of stunted her pregnancy.
Okay.
And made her stay pregnant for a really long time. We were scheduled. So every day, I'm on there. It was supposed to be from 130 to 180 days. And now we're at that point on day 183. And my friend and mentor told me, it's time to do something. There's no way there are live babies in there, So we had all scheduled to drive 8 hours or 10 hours? 9 hours to Des Moines, Iowa, so that Isis could have surgery and get those babies taken out of her. And the morning.
No, go ahead.
So as far as Erica and Tara and the other people who come on my stuff that I do, that all started because every day I was posting on Facebook. Isis didn't have babies yet. And it was draining me. Every day I had to make that post because I started it. So I was checked out what I could do. And I saw I could put it on YouTube live 24/7. So Isis was on YouTube live 24/7 for over 30 days. It was crazy. And everybody was watching to see what would happen. Well, I started massaging her because my other friend who deals with wild emeralds, one of my exporter friends, which that's another thing I wanted to get back to later, is why I had all those snakes in Suriname. But he deals with wild snakes, and he told me how he massages the dead snakes out if that happens. And so I thought, well, I would much rather massage those snakes out of Isis than take her to get surgery and have to stay there and recuperate. And I have to leave her there. I was going to stay there for a whole month if I had to, or 3 months. I didn't even want to leave my snake, even though she was in the best possible care of any two surgeons that are specialized that people take these snakes to just for that problem. So I ended up massaging the babies out. I massaged her since the day we planned that trip until we left. And I think that was like 3 or 4 days straight. And one day I massaged her for 90 minutes straight, or no, 3 hours, wasn't it? And it was all on YouTube Live. The whole time I'm massaging the snake. Everybody's waiting for something to happen. Well, finally, the day we're leaving for her to do the surgery, I gave her another massage and I put her in the rain chamber, which I was constantly giving her rain chambers. And finally she did. She went into labor. She had the babies and she had 8 of them. And 6 of them were stillborn and 2 were born alive. But they were born alive with like their sacs on the outside of them. And many people have looked at the photos. If anybody wants to see the picture, I'm always happy. Not that many people ask for it. So I'm always happy to share it because if anybody has more knowledge or has ever seen that. And anyway, so Larry and Steve Volk were on the phone and they came up with a little solution. And Larry put the stuff back in Peo and then tied everything off with some dental floss. And Larry's a dentist, so he does microsurgeries all the time. So dealing with the little tiny thing, which was much smaller than this, he was able to do that. But the first baby we got out, it died like almost right away, the first live one. And then this one was the 5th one born.
Okay.
And here he is. He has his first 3 meals. We assisted him. I got a pinky and shoved it down his throat. I have another one I assist to that we kind of rescued from a hurricane situation of Florida that had not been cared for at all. He's in terrible condition and all bones. But anyway, we were assist fitting Peo. And then I started raising dwarf hamsters, which a lot of you know, Larry started it, falling in love with them. And now they have a whole mansion island with art in it and crystals upstairs in my living room. But we are raising those little hamsters just for Peo. And so his first 3 meals were assisted, and his past 3 meals, we put that live thing in there and he just attacks it. He's a fabulous eater. He really knows how to go for his food and kill it, and he does it all. When will we put him on frozen defrosted? I don't know. We're really enjoying those hamsters, and believe it or not, only a couple of my snakes will eat them. So the ones that do are kind of getting overfed.
Well, don't the hamsters have a higher fat content rather than protein?
Well, they're much smaller than the rats that they eat. So, but they are fat things. And especially I feed them, they don't get any grain, corn, oats, none of that. They get all fresh seeds, dried fruit, fresh vegetables. They get all the best food. So this little guy right here is full of all the best food.
Well, so you don't breed to pop some stuff on Morph Market?
No.
Okay, so you're not that kind of breeder. You're not. If it
I'm
happens,
not a breeder.
You're not a breeder at all.
No, I'm a mother.
Okay. All right.
I'm a mother.
You realize you come off a little bit like little nutty with all this. Like
I
most
know.
people get
I know.
this. They do it,
but I'm hot, right?
I'll tell you. I remember talking to Ed Marino one time, and he's kind of like the one of the better breeders, right, in America. And he always told me that they're not hard to keep, but they're hard to breed. Mine
won't stop having sex. There's so much snake sex in this jungle room. They will breed. Put them together and they'll be locked up. Okay,
so now what are you going to do with all those babies?
Well, I do have another one gravid right now. We're keeping her in the temperature. And, when these animals, I don't know anything about other snakes, but when these snakes are gravid, they are extremely restless. They never hold still. So I just want to open the door and let her come out on her vines, but now I know better. Keep her in there under the heat. So she stays in there. And what will I do with the babies? I can't think that far ahead yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just gonna love them.
But the plan is definitely not to just like high production money. The
No.
money doesn't seem to fall into a factor with you at all.
No. When I know I have to say when, because I do love letting my snakes get together. They just love socializing. People say they're not social, but I have this whole entire room down, and I know they're not social because we don't find them together out there. You know, very rarely you'll see two in a tree together, but never like together. But in my jungle room, they have this humongous room to go. The whole entire ceiling is covered in vines, and they could go anywhere they want to. And in the morning, we'll wake up and they'll all be in a cuddle puddle. They're so cute. And I have gotten 4 incorrectly sexed emeralds. And you guys, if you know how much these things cost, to get them incorrectly sexed was heartbreaking for a minute, because I had 4 males and 3 females, all adults ready to breed. And then all of a sudden, one of my females started showing these big old hemipenes. And then next thing I know, my other female started showing them off. So now I thought I had 6 males and 1 female. So I was really sad because I knew once they got older, I wasn't going to be able to keep letting them come out all together like that. I had plans for my mother nursery, which I'm still going to do. But then 2 years afterward, I found out that 2 of my males are females. So I'm back to 3 females and 4 males. Well, except I do have another male and female over there, the rescues that I got.
Okay.
But
they'll these are all wild caught?
No, none of these are wild caught. These basins there's no legal place where you can export these basins. You can export them, you can buy them. For example, my friend in Suriname has his license because he breeds these animals there, but you cannot take them from the wild and sell them. But northern emeralds you can.
Right. Okay.
Do you want to ask me anything, and then I'll go into about the northern emeralds ambassadors that I have in Suriname?
I want you to go right into it now, because I don't know shit about these snakes. So the more you tell me, the more I know. So
are you getting me another one? Yeah. So like I said, in Suriname and Guyana, it is legal to export northern emerald tree boas as well as many other animals. And so when I go out to the jungle to look for these animals, I run into hunters and trappers out there. And hunters and trappers are out there to get fish and game to take back for the village. And, you know, they make trades and money to sell the meat in the village. And I've seen some amazing hunts out there of different animals. But one thing you can usually be sure of is that somebody on the hunting crew, which could be anywhere from 3 to 10 people, 2 boats sometimes, because they're tracking large herds of pigs and they have to get dropped off in one place. And it's really cool out there for that. That's a whole nother story. But the hunters, there'll always be someone on the team who can get snakes out of the trees. And they'll climb up those trees with bags and put the snakes in them. And they'll keep the snakes in the bow of their boat until they're done with their hunt, which typically lasts about 10 days during the entire new moon when it's darkest during the month. So your snakes will be in those bags. Also, the companies out there, the mining companies, they do not have any regulations against employees trapping animals. So sometimes those guys are out there for months. So a wild emerald could possibly be in a bag in the jungle for months before he ever even makes it to a village where a middleman will pick him up. And the middleman will pick him up and that's when they go to the exporters. Well, when I'm out there, and I see any hunters or trappers, I always stop and ask them if they have any snakes. And they will sell me the snakes for the same price that they would sell the snake to the middleman. So when I'm out there, I buy those snakes and I take them back out to places in the jungle on the river that are deep down inside of fingers, and find places, I'll take both of them, with really good resources, like all kinds of different trees. Here, give me his tail. Oh, sorry. More down there. Right here. Okay. Trees that have the different fruits and stuff that the rats like to eat. And then this is father and son here.
Ah, okay.
And then we'll release the snakes in those areas. And also, of course, we look for, like little ponds back in the fingers where there are a lot of frogs and lizards and things like that. So we're looking for really good spots that are well hidden, and we take the snakes and put them back out there. And how I get the snakes that I use as ambassadors is that sometimes I'm able to collect snakes from the middlemen that live in the small village where I stay before I head out to the jungle. And that's when I do a thing that I call snake education. And I take those wild snakes and I invite all the people in the village to come over, and we have some refreshments and we work with all the snakes. And we can have anaconda, boas, rainbow boa, emerald tree boas, red tail boas, and of course anacondas are boas too. And I can't really think of others, but there are all kinds of different snakes we can have during that session. And there are some snakes people can't hold, and that's usually the red-tailed boas, the boa constrictors. They're usually not handleable. Once in a while you'll get one, that's okay. But so far, 100% of the emeralds have been handleable, and I've had more emeralds than anything else. So, and anacondas are not handleable, ever.
Right.
But rainbow boas and emeralds are.
So how do you get your emerald boas? You just buy them from breeders here?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the cost on one? Because again, I don't know anything about these.
The typical cost on these animals is usually around $5,000. Sometimes, like for example, you mentioned Ed Marino. Ed Marino's got animals that he would scoff at any offer, even $80,000. One offer he scoffed at that I heard of, that I heard him say about. So on a podcast, I think with MJ or something. But the thing is that it just depends. Like Ed Marino's breeding all kinds of stripes. Like this one has a really nice stripe, but Ed Marino's has like all kinds of design stripes, aliens and snowflakes and all kinds of stuff. So his are going for, probably tens of thousands. I even know of some wild northerns that have gone for tens of thousands. So, it just really depends on the animal. But sometimes you can find somebody, like, for example, these two little rescues, and that's a controversial thing. If it's a rescue, then why did you pay for it? Well, we paid for it because somebody else would have gotten it, and we just really feel like we could do a good job. The animals were $2,500 a piece. So many people who could not afford an emerald would have gone for those snakes. But they really need a lot of special care. So the female is extremely stunted. The male has his full skeleton showing through. And we've been hand feeding the male. The female's eating on her own. But I don't care if we paid for them or not. We definitely rescued them. We did not need those animals. We didn't need more to take care of. But at that price, they could have been grabbed up by somebody that didn't have the resources that we have to really make sure that they were going to pull through.
And do you do this full time? Like, is this your job? Like is
this my job, love?
Yes, $500
yes, my job. I take care of the house, and travel, and Larry's a dentist, and the hardest part of his job is that he's not a great conversationalist. He's not a big talker, but he says I give him constant content. So he always has something to talk about. And so my job is I'm a content creator for Larry.
Okay, right.
But yes,
All right.
I take care of these animals all day. And I have a whole little zoo upstairs of rescue animals that we didn't pay for, that we rescued the way people all agree is rescuing.
Well, I saw today you got an iguana up there, right?
Oh God, our
Yeah.
little Jaja, she's our daughter. She's our daughter, right, love?
Now, does Larry help you take
Yes.
care of these things every day? I mean,
Yes,
you know,
and I travel a lot. So like Larry says, when I travel, he has 2 full-time jobs.
right. So Larry's just like, sure, go into the jungle, it's no problem.
Yeah, he's very supportive and realizes what an amazing experience it is. And he's 100% into me going. And Larry, he enjoys his time alone. He gets to eat what he wants. He could watch what he wants. He could leave the TV on all day when he's not even watching it, turned up real loud on gunfights and whatever he wants to watch. So he can go eat at Subway and eat all the stuff he enjoys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he does enjoy it.
It sounds like I would like Larry a lot. Yeah. Okay.
But he also loves me and loves being with me. But those are nice breaks for him too.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, what Larry knows is like you could love something to death, but sometimes you're like, all right, it's a little bit too much. You know, it's
That's
a little
me. I'm a little bit too much.
bit. I need to send her into the jungle for a week and a half. How long do these trips usually last?
2 weeks to 4 weeks, depending. Typically 16 to 21 days, I think, is about a normal trip. I cannot do it in 2 weeks. It's too fast because it takes a lot of days to get to and from the interior. That's where you really have to add days on to the beginning and the end to get to the interior.
Right.
So,
And what's like a normal travel day? So, like, let's say you land there, right? And what do you do? How do you get to the jungle from the airport?
well, it depends on where I am. Usually when I arrive in a country, I usually stay in a hotel in that country or in the airport city the first night. And then in Suriname, I stay an extra night because I want to go visit all my friends there. But typically, the very next day, we start traveling to the interior. And that usually starts with a car, a van, sometimes even a bus ride. And then usually ends with a very long boat journey where you have to stop and sleep somewhere at night and then continue the boat journey the next day. My guide in Suriname, which is amazing how we came across each other, and I hired him to take a trip with me to Brazil to search for the wild striped Batesii. So Mark went with me to Suriname, and we spent Mark says over 60 hours sitting on a little canoe that entire week. So there's a lot of time in a boat. Little boats, not comfortable boats.
Right out. Yeah, I was gonna say, okay. And then once you get there, realistically, like, what if something goes wrong? What if you get an infection? If you get cut? If you get hurt? Like, what happens? You just don't go to the village doctors there, right? What if you need a real doctor? What happens?
There was a boy in the last village where we were in Brazil who got ill, and he had an emergency and had to go to the hospital. They started to take them on the boat, which was going to take half a day to get there. But then they had somebody with a motorcycle, and there are little dirt roads that go from village to village. So sometimes you can get on a dirt bike and make it to another village, but that's only when it's not rainy season, because when it's rainy season, you only can take the river. And if you get bit by a venomous spider or a venomous snake, by the time you get back, you're done. Really, there's not really enough time to go through all that. We do not carry any type of anti-venom, but the most dangerous snake out there is the fertile ants. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a small brown snake. It's not quite as small as this little fake snake, but maybe the size Peo was. And the baby I just had. And they're brown and they sit in the leaf cover. So it's very important. Like, I had one guest because I do take people to Suriname. That's my regular trip. I've done it many times, and I take people on trips to Suriname. And I'll save that for later because I won't forget to say that. So the fertile ants is very dangerous. There's also another spider called a wandering spider that's extremely venomous and can kill somebody in 6 hours if they bite it properly. But, if you're not wearing the proper clothes, I had a guest who kept wearing open-toed sandals out in the bush. So I had to make a rule that you have to wear closed-toed boots in the bush, or, when you're walking around in the jungle. So you do have to do prevention. And the good thing is the fertile ants and the wandering spider, neither are aggressive. They will both get away from you as fast as they can. And even if they do bite you, it's not even likely that they're going to shoot venom in you. Usually it's leave me alone bite.
Like a dry bite, yeah.
I think that's very common. So those are the dangerous things about bites. One of the most dangerous things out there are types of trees. Sometimes you're slip in the mud and you put your hand on a tree and it's like, oh God, and your hand is swollen up for a couple days. So trees are probably the biggest injury. And then the next thing is if somebody gets cut, and I do have antibiotics and other stuff on the packing list, because if you do get a cut, or, if you start to feel like you're sick, then, you have to have antibiotics. If something really bad happens, then we put somebody in the boat. It's never happened, but anybody would in any village at any time, put the person in the boat and travel as fast as you can to the next port, the next village or homestead that might have a faster boat. And then you just keep going from there. And people out there are they're one big happy. You want to talk about hippies? Being one big happy family full of love and laughter and kindness. That is the jungle people. Everywhere I've been, every country I've been to, the jungle people are all like that. Amazingly, hospitable family, just one big family.
What was the weirdest thing you've ever eaten while you've been in one of these villages?
I guess the hardest
I'm assuming it's not a fast food place within 5 minutes, right?
No. Usually in these villages, all the houses don't have kitchens, and there's usually a house that does all the cooking. A couple houses that, depending on the size, that does all the cooking, and then everybody gathers at that house. And I'll tell you, the hardest thing I ever ate was iguana and her eggs. Of course, because anybody who knows anything about me or has been to my social media, I love my iguana, Jaja. Oh, sorry, sweetie. She is so precious to me. So that was the hardest thing I ever ate. We do typically eat, I always say we eat rat, because the truth is they are large, the third largest rodents. Capybara, I can't remember, is either the first or second, but these are called paca, P-A-C-A. You guys can look it up. And they're little tiny animals that have kind of like a small dog shaped body. Not a dog, If you think of an old fat dog with a pot belly, anyway, look them up, Paca, and they have like the spots that you would see on Bambi on their back.
Right.
And they're really delicious. I have never had anybody cook paca that I did not enjoy. People think it's weird about piranha. Piranha does have a lot of bones, but if the guys will take a piranha, they'll get it with the machete standing on the rocks, put the machete in the river, and next thing you know, they've got the fire going on the rocks, and the piranha is all cooked up. Nothing whatsoever except for rocks and fire. And it tastes like it was soaked in butter for days before they cooked it. Piranha is so buttery, but it has lots of bones. I've eaten all kinds of fish. I love fish. We've had nothing crazy. Well, of course, in Peru, I've spent a lot of time in Peru. And for us, it's weird. But in Peru, in the villages, I have videos of that. They raise guinea pigs right in the kitchen, kind of like I raise my hamsters on my hamster island. They raise guinea pigs, and the grandmother of the house takes it out, breaks the neck, sitting right on the floor, shaving the hair off, and they cook it up. But that's delicious. A lot better than the wild chicken, which fresh cooked wild chicken tastes like beef jerky. It's so skinny. But the little piglets, or what are they called? Guinea pigs, are delicious. So that's about the wildest. Do you remember anything else wild I ate? Okay.
So when you get home, right, from one of these excursions, right, it has to seem pretty boring life when you're home and you're not doing all these things that you like to do, right? Like,
Well,
how long do
all
you
these things.
What's that?
I like all these things just as much. I miss them so much when I'm gone. All my animals. And I have my sweetie here. So it really doesn't, like when I first walk in the door after a trip, it's like, oh my God, this is my enclosure. I love my house. If you guys have ever seen my upstairs of my house, my iguana is a free range. She has a big, beautiful habitat up there in the living room window. And I have 2 sulcata tortoises, 2 king snakes. Now I have the little hamster island. And plus it has all my art that I've chosen from, flea markets and stuff over the years. I just love my space. And then downstairs down here, I have these guys. And when I come home on my first night, I always come down here and open the doors, and they come out. I have a lot of videos. They come out really like scoped out right to my face. So I have a lot of thrills here at home too.
Okay. How
Not to
long
mention coffee, a bathroom, a bed.
Oh, yeah.
No
How long
bugs.
do you go in between trips? Like, how many trips do you take a year?
One time, I can't remember if it was once or twice, but I did 3 back-to-back, January, February, March. I've done 4 trips a year, 3 trips a year. I started doing this in June of 2021, and I just finished my 10th trip. So, just different trips. And if other people want to go, then they just pay for the trip and I go with them. But it feels a lot better having somebody who knows the system. And my Suriname trip has a lot of moving parts to it because we use different people for each different part of the trip. So it's just a lot.
So you have guides when you go to these places, right?
Yes.
And how long is you had showed me an Excel sheet on some of the things that you had to do to prepare.
Why did I show you that Excel sheet?
I had something to do with math, I believe.
No, it was because after we chatted on, I think Thursday, I don't remember the day, which doesn't matter. We chatted on Thursday and we had so much fun chatting. And the next morning you sent me a message And I
Oh,
have laughed about it. What did
The
it say? Do you remember?
the Sudoku thing?
You sent me a message the next morning and it said, I'm bored. Entertain me.
Amuse me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm bored.
And then,
Amuse me.
yeah.
So
And then
I
you
sent
sent
you
me
that.
an Excel list with 400 things to do that you were doing during that day. Like
Yes,
when's your next trip coming up?
February 20th.
Okay. And that sheet that you showed me was everything that you had to get done before February 20th?
I sent you two things to amuse you that I thought you could spend some time chewing on because there's so much to look at. But one of
Yeah,
them
but
is
it was a picture. I can't go through every
I
top
know,
line of Excel on a picture.
I know. It was like a free babysitter sending that to you, you know?
Yeah. So those are
Um,
the things you have to do before you go on your next trip.
well, one list was a itemized cost list of what each thing cost on the trip because I have, it's a spreadsheet. So I just changed my variables, how many people are going, and it changes all the numbers. And then also, if somebody wants like a bones trip, then I can take different expenses off and we can make it less expensive. So that's the spreadsheet with all those costs. And then the other spreadsheet is the itinerary. It's a calendar of what we'll be doing exactly to the detail, what we'll be doing each day. And of course, times are always approximate, but I do try to include them so people know if they have to wake up early or if we'll be up all night or something like that.
Right, but like on a normal day, there's no once you start this trip, there's no relaxed day. Like I think I'm just gonna chill out tomorrow in the village and let pool boys wait on me.
Well, Bob Bledsoe, Dave Kaufman, and the other Amy, if you guys know who I'm talking about, Amy, they came up with that they are going to start calling my trips Amy's Boot Camp. And I told them, you do not have to do everything every day. You guys can sit back and relax and do whatever you want to, but I'm doing those things. The guides are paid to keep us busy. But yes, there's lots of downtime. You can, all of those days out in the jungle, 6 days in the jungle, yes, we stay out from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. because that's when we look for these animals. We go during the new moon when it's darkest. And we're out there looking for oi shine. And during the day, we're not doing anything. You really get to just sit in your hammock all day long. We can take walks. We can go down to the river. Like Bob loves to fish, so he like to go fishing with the guys. You can lay in a hammock and relax all day long. So out in the bush, there is a lot of downtime. And then when we're in town, you would see that the activities are mostly, just walk around town, and people don't have to do everything I say. Although, wait, did I just say that?
So, okay. So now this February trip, how long is that going to be?
So this is a very special trip. The February trip is going to be 15 days, I think. And this will be my 11th trip to the jungle. And finally, after all of these trips to the jungle, Larry is going to join me because my brother's going. And Larry knows all the stories. He's seen all the videos. He's talked to the people on speakerphone with me. And he's been promising them all he was coming. So this is it. He's finally going to go. And he and my brother and I are taking this trip together. And then in April, I'm going back to Brazil.
Jesus.
So,
Okay. Okay. So you got a lot going on. Has your kid ever came on one of these trips yet?
my kid,
Yeah.
she would like to, but no, she hasn't. She travels a lot. She stays super duper busy, and it's hard, and she works and everything. So it's hard for her. but we do spend a lot of time together, and she would love to come on this trip with Tim and Larry, but I don't think it's going to work out.
So wait, so the little girl in your video today was not your child?
Oh no, my child is 31 years old.
Oh God.
That little girl today is Larry's and I's massage therapist daughter. So the mother that you saw there is our massage therapist. And how the little girl even started coming to our house in the first place was when we started using Miranda like 4.5 years ago. There was a night Larry, he sits in the same position with his head cocked all day long. He has even though he doesn't move a lot, a very physically straining job. And he just had a really bad stiff neck. And so we really needed Miranda to come over on a Wednesday night. And she said, well, I don't have a babysitter. And I said, well, I'll keep the little girl entertained if you come over and work on Larry. So the video I posted on Facebook today was that day. The little girl had just turned 5. And well, that's when I made the video. But before that, she was still only 4. And she came over here and I let her hold the snakes. And, back then I didn't have all those animals upstairs, but she had such a great time over here. It was amazing. So now we've just made it a regular thing. And my whole upstairs is an aerial gym. The living room and the dining room it's just one big, huge aerial gym. So it's a little kid's heaven over here. So that's my friend's little.
I didn't watch the whole video today, so I didn't even see another woman in there. That's why I just assumed that the kid in the video was your daughter. So that's why. Now, all right, Amy. Well, we're hitting an hour 12, which is way longer than we normally do. You said that you wanted to go back to a story about something about your exporter or your Suriname guy.
Yes, when I first started this traveling looking for these animals, I went to Peru and I found my first wild emerald, which was a Batesii, the same as this, but with no stripe. Not all Batesii have stripe. Not all of the basin emeralds have stripes in the wild. As a matter of fact, most of them do not. That's why I keep going back to this spot in Brazil, because that's where they are. And I will see a wild striped Batesii in April, I hope. But in Peru, I found one. And then I went back and stayed for like a month and traveled all around Peru, Brazil, Colombia, and we found nothing. So I posted on the Facebook Emerald Tree Boa page and asked if anybody knows where to find these things in the wild. And those guys are I'm just going to say it, I'm not going to harp on it, but they're mean and usually very egotistical. And I was not welcome in there with my questions and stuff. It was not, obviously. But my friend Igor from Suriname answered not the post, but he sent me a private message and said, you're asking these questions in the wrong place. I can find you these animals. So I hooked up with Igor and he hooked me up with a crew. I went to Suriname. I went out in the middle of the jungle with 3 hunters I never met in my life. And I found lots of emeralds. It was amazing. But I didn't want to travel with those guys again because they're vicious. They're out there hunting and trapping. I was just literally went on their hunting trip. So it was heartbreaking. So I told Igor that I would like to go again, but I would like to go with somebody who could take me out to the jungle and show me the emeralds, but I don't want them to kill everything they see and bag up every animal and all the stuff. So he sent me up with Mark and Tony. And Mark and Tony and I clicked. It was amazing. It was just like being with my family. It is being with my family. And we just had such a great trip together. So I went back with them over and over again. And like I said, Mark flew into Brazil and came with me to go with a different guide that I found through a friend. And like Mark's not a guide and neither is the other guy. These guys aren't guides. They're Like Mark and Tony are ex-hunters. They did hunting and trapping for 30 years, and then each went into different businesses. So that is not how they make their money anymore. And they would really like to work in tourism, and, you know, doing natural stuff. So they were perfect for me. And then my friend in Brazil, who I found, who had been trying to get a contact for years. And then it just happened that I was having a conversation at one of those expos this year. Which one was that? Do you remember? Dallas? At one of the Dallas reptile expos. And I was with all the cool guys, you know, Gary and Dave and MJ, like all that whole crew. And Quetzal, if a lot of people don't know Quetzal, like they know those other names I just said, but Quetzal's like one of the OGs, you know. And he was like, "Are you talking about Fabio in Brazil?" I said, "I don't know the guy's name. I just know everything about him." And he said, "Yep, that's Fabio. I have his number right here." So he hooked me up with Fabio. And people from all across Brazil were messaging me saying, "Do not go on a trip with this guy. He's crazy." He's telling me all kinds of details of his craziness. So I was scared to go, but I was more wanting to see the striped Batesii in the wild than I was scared. So I took Mark, and Nan, if you're watching this, I know you didn't know that part. I love you. Thank you for always loving us and being so supportive. And so I wanted to go, and so I took Mark with me, not only because he's an expert at finding snakes in the wild, these snakes particularly, but also because it was much safer. And it turned out that Fabio was fabulous. He was fantastic, so hospitable. And Mark and I both literally cried tears multiple times, because just thinking we almost didn't come because we listened to other people, and Fabio was so warm and kind and introduced us to the most amazing people. So that's who I'm going back with again in April. I don't know what I was saying, but those are the different guides that I have. They're not actually guides. They're just people passionate. I just have to find people. Like Fabio has a huge striped Batesii tattooed on his whole arm. You have to find the people who are passionate about these snakes, who know where they are, not just a guide.
Well, here's another question, because you mentioned all the cool guys. Okay.
Well, well-known guys.
Wait, one of those guys not so cool, but whatever.
Well-known, I meant.
Do you find?
I think they're all cool.
Yeah, well, okay, that's good. So change my opinion.
We all have different degrees. They have cool stuff. We all have cool stuff about us.
Listen, here's my question though. Okay, do you find that you get a lot of hate from the guy Emerald Tree Keepers?
Yes. I'm really thankful for different people. Go ahead.
Well, like, why do you think? Because like normally, like the ball python thing, for a while, any women coming into the hobby were basically shit on. And why do you think the guys are? Do you think they're shitting on you, or you're getting a lot of hate because of the way you care for your animals?
This right here.
Yeah.
They hate that I hold these animals. They blew these animals up so bad to be unhandleable. And, you know, don't do it. They'll get sick and diseases. I don't know what other people's experiences are. I just know that I have 10 of these things, and this is how they act. I know that I've had 25 wild green emeralds in my hands in the wild, and they are just like this. I got bit one time, and that was when I very first started free handling the snakes. And I had 2 of them, and one of them tamed really fast. It was a fantastic animal, and I didn't take enough time with the second one, and I got bit. And those were the second and third that I had. So after all these wild emeralds that I've held, if you guys have seen me with handfuls of wild emeralds, which I wrangle, get them completely all in my hands at one time by myself. That video's out there too. With no help, because they're all like this. So I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. Can just give you my experience.
Okay. We're gonna close things out on that, but how could people get in touch with you if they wanna, God knows why, go to the jungle or they just have questions? How could they get in touch with you?
You guys can just Google Happy Basins, all one word or two words. I don't think it matters. Or Amy Benzi. Either way, I'll come up on all of the social media platforms. You can find me on Happy Basins or Amy Benzi.
Okay. And is there anything that you want to say to everybody that came in tonight?
Yes, I want to say that I really enjoyed getting, you guys are the Fat Man's fans, and I had such a nice long conversation with him the other morning. I wanted to tell everybody one of my points that I put on some notes to make sure I talked about, or at least mentioned, was that yes, he absolutely lives up to every bit of his reputation of being a dog. And it is very entertaining. And if there are folks out there offended by his doggishness, you know, all I can say is I don't want to say get over it, because that's not nice, because people have different feelings about things, but it can really be enjoyable and funny. So I have enjoyed you very much. But
Well,
yes,
thank you.
absolutely, 100%, you live up to your reputation.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. On that note, we're getting rid of you. Okay. But thank you very much for, hanging out with us for an hour. This is a new one. This was, I mean, just the fact that you're showing snakes the whole time is a good one. So I definitely appreciate you coming on, and I'm going to throw you in the backstage. You could hang out or you could head out. It's all good. And we'll go from there. I will talk to you in a couple of days. I'll let you know how the numbers are going. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
You got it, Amy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Whoa. Just thought about how doggishness didn't sound like a compliment, right? Jesus Christ. Anyway, she's so nice, and she's so like just happy, little hippie, but she's always happy. At least every time I've talked to her, and I appreciate her coming on. Guys, we got a lot going on in January. We got the Zoom call, we got the celebrity Zoom call. I just started recording storytellers for season 2. It's going to be fun. So I want you guys to stop by the Patreon if you can. Join up with the Patreon, patreon.com/thefatmannation. And anything else you can, you could stop by and see us. We did a cool little lunch call the other day that was pretty cool, where we had the Harbins and Blake and Kevin stop by for a little while. And overall, we're just having a good time. We're just trying to make everybody laugh and make things happen. I will see you guys on the 12th for the Zoom call, the open Zoom call for reptile keepers. And then I will see you on the 15th for Snakes and the Fat Man, where we will have Nice Balls on, along with Flawless Exotic Creations as the 15 Minutes of Lane guest. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. Thank you very much. And we're just going to run the dumb bumper again, and I will talk to you guys later. All right? Take it easy, guys.